The island of Barbados is the Caribbean's most amazing and unique country. The culture offers exclusive food and sports, along with a history which might be the most interesting in the world. While you can take a vacation and visit the white sand beaches and turquoise waters, visit Mount Hillaby or Harrison's Cave, the country is more than a tourist destination. Barbados is a beautiful island with a variety of art, activities, nightlife, and music. But as exciting and vital these things may be, Barbados cannot get by without the people. These citizens are bigger than life, and it is an extraordinary thought of what dull people America contains compared to this country. Tune into this documentary and learn about the most interesting and different country in the world. The culture of Barbados offers amazing food and sports, along with our Barbados famous festivals, including the crop over. In Barbados, you can enjoy a dish of flying fish and play cricket at the same time. Pay attention to this portion of the documentary and to learn about the extraordinary culture of Barbados. The food of Barbados is loved for a reason. Not only is it extremely authentic compared to our McDonald's, but it is all from the blue oceans of the country. When you think of everyday food in America, you possibly think of a Chick-fil-A. But when Barbadians eat their everyday food, the dish may include dolphin, barracuda, or even lobsters. This is all for a reason, though. If you lived on an island and you were completely surrounded by some of the world's best seafood, would you eat it? The traditions of food on this island have been strongly influenced by traditions from Spain, England, Portugal, and West Africa. When slaves were first brought to the island, the slaves started growing sugar cane in the 1640s, and they had no idea how that would affect Barbados' future culture. More than 300 years later, this made sugar one of the most common foods on the island, right up with molasses, corn, rice, and potatoes. All in all, the food of these people came to Barbados with a purpose. The sports of Barbados is also a big name in Asian culture. When many people play foreign football on the island, most stick to the big sport, cricket. The famous Kensington Oval is where most big games are played. The stadium was established in 1882 and is due west of the capital, Bridgetown. The massive stadium can hold 14,500 fans and is about a 19th of the country's population. The field has a diameter of 140 yards. The cricket is played on a rectangular field like football. Barbados has produced some of the best and most famous cricket players like Gordon Greenidge, Charlie Griffin, Samuel Noose, Desmond Haynes, Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, and Sir Clyde Walcott. The first organization of cricket on the island was in 1892, the Barbados Cricket Cup Challenge Committee. You may be wondering about why Barbados ever started the sport. In the very early 1800s, when Captain Powell had ownership of the island with the slaves, the soldiers played cricket at the times when they owned the country. After a long time, Bajans decided to try the sport and immediately made it a tradition. In conclusion, how Barbadians play cricket today in Barbados make it one of the most famous in the world. The slave history of this country is very complex, but I will state it in many ways that make it simple. In the beginning, 1627, Captain John Powell brought just 10 slaves over to Barbados from Africa. The citizens on the island were too poor to afford any slaves at the time. People from Africa were by far the best slaves because they were the strongest slaves in the world, and Africa was much closer in Barbados than Europe. The soldiers and Captain Powell did everything efficiently. Then, as time went by, the triangular trade became popular. Europe, West Africa, and the Americas were the three main regions that traded valuables for valuables. Rum and other goods were exported from New England to Africa. Africa then shipped slaves to the Caribbean. Finally, the Caribbean shipped sugar to New England. Barbados had lots of sugar. The country is well known for the festival, the crop over, which celebrates how successful Barbados was with the sugar cane. The beginning of all this was exciting, but there was much more to happen over future years. 1834, slavery was abolished in all territories of Barbados under the British law. This was mainly due to the Emancipation Act and three huge uprisings, which were 1816, 1823, and 1832. But it was not all over yet. Some freed slaves then assigned to becoming indentured servants. They had the lowest wage in the whole entire region. Some were contracted for 12 years, working on an average of 45 hours per week. In 1838, the contract law made all discrimination of color in Barbados legal. About 80 years later, it was official. Slavery was officially abolished, and freedom was gained. The first people to settle in Barbados were the Amerindians, who arrived from Venezuela. The stay of the people was so short and so long ago, scientists today have very few things to assure that they were even there at Barbados at the time. They were Iraq Indians. These people grew the same things that Barbados eat today, like guava, rice, or fish. They caught the fish with usually harpoons or nets, but later in 1200, the island was taken over by the Carib Indians, who stayed the shortest and went to look for another island. Years went by, and then the Portuguese arrived. They came from a route in Brazil. The leader explorer was named Pedro de Campos. They did not last long either before the English came with Powell and took the island on May 14, 1625. These people carried the slaves and made Barbados the most successful it would ever be. Barbados has gone through a lot, remaining one of the most fascinating countries in the world. The culture is filled with strong traditions from ancestors. The history is filled with politics and mysteries. Barbados is without a doubt one of the most interesting locations on our planet.
Barbados, an island of dense rainforests, coral reefs, and coconut palms. Barbados is a sunny island with warm waters and bright blue skies. Barbados has many unique traits, including its many festival celebrations. It's an ideal place for vacation because of its mix of culture, religion, government, and history. Before settlers came to Barbados, the Arawaks lived there. The Arawak Indians came from Venezuela and dug out canoes they had made from trees. They grew cotton, cassava, maize, guava, and papaya. They also used slash and burn agriculture. With the cotton they grew, they wove clothes and hammocks. They used harpoons, nets, and hooks to catch fish. Because they lived near the coast and on an island, they ate fish a lot because they were one of their many resources that they had good access to. They wore body paint, nose plugs, and or copper rings. When children were infants, they bound their foreheads to make them look pointier. They were short and had olive-colored skin. They lived in villages of about 3,000 or less. They didn't like warfare. They were very peaceful Indians. However, the Arawaks were driven out by the Caribs. The Caribs were cannibals and were very into fighting and war. The Arawak language was spoken by the women. However, the men spoke the traditional Carib language. When they captured an enemy, they would torture them and then eat them. They were very fierce and strong. They hunted, farmed, and fished for food because that's what they had access to. When settlers came to Barbados, the Portuguese were the first to come. They came in 1536 with a Portuguese explorer named Pedro de Campos. Then in 1625, Captain John Powell claimed the island for England. 2 years later, Captain Henry Powell made a colony in Holetown. They grew tobacco and many other plants. Britain sent black slaves from Africa to come and work. In 1639, the first parliament held its first meeting. And in 1663, Barbados was bought into England's possession. In 1816, slaves rose in rebellion, and slavery stopped in 1834. In 1876, riots started because of a proposal the British had made. 1966, Barbados became free from England and an independent country. Barbados has roots of African and British in its culture. These roots have influenced their customs, traditions, and their religion today. Some things that they have are festivals, many traditional dances, music, and art, Culture from Barbados also has flavors of England and Portugal. They enjoy cooking traditional dishes such as cuckoo and conkies. Food is a very big part of their culture. Festivals are also a big part. They have 6 major festivals: the Jazz Festival, the G. Conglane Carnival, the Olston's Fish Festival, the Whole Town Festival, the Crop Over Festival, and the National Independence Festival of Art. These take place throughout the year. They celebrate these to honor many of the things that they have and like their old planting season. They have music and lots of food. People dress up in extreme costumes and they have many events that you can participate in. Their Crop Over Festival, which is the biggest festival, was made to celebrate the good sugarcane harvest that they had that year. Another thing that's popular in the festivals that they have is calypso. It's a West Indian song with an African rhythm. They have calypso competitions to see whose calypso is the best. In Barbados, people have tuck bands as well. The music they play is based off the style of military British bands. Traditional African characters such as Shaggy Bear, Green Monkey, and Mother Sally perform with the band. You can see a tuck band at traditional festivals such as the Whole Town and Olton's Fish Festival. Steel drums are also a common instrument used in all the music they have there. One thing that all of the kids grow up with is cricket. They grow up playing cricket, and many players go into the big leagues. It's a national sport and it's played worldwide. It's a traditional tie to the British government and culture that they used to have. They have a world-class stadium where people come from everywhere in the world to watch cricket, and many people have a talent when it comes to dancing. Many folk dancers are used in theater. They have modern and ballet dancing that is available to most of them. Artists, however, in Barbados take working inventions and make them into art. They can make pottery from Chalky Mountain. Most of their art comes in colors like red, yellow, white, green, just those normal colors that you usually see. And school children sometimes create murals to display. Barbados has a parliamentary government. It also has a prime minister, which is like a president. However, the prime minister gets to help make and publish the laws. The parliamentary government was formed in Great Britain, which is one of the flavors that Barbados has. Citizens elect representatives to a parliament, and they make the laws and the rules. It's very based off the citizens. The citizens do most of the work. There are 2 political parties, the Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party. The party that represents the parliament the most forms the government system. The party's leader becomes the prime minister. The House of Assembly has 30 members. A political party makes up most of it. The legislator can dismiss the prime minister if he feels that he isn't doing well enough. The prime minister does not have to approve laws like ours. They just become laws, but he can also help make them. A democracy is the best type of government because it always allows freedom and people's choices. Barbados has a market-based economy, and people are not afraid to take risks there. The economy is based off tourism, finances, agriculture, business, and manufacturing. One thing that they specialize the most in is probably sugar cane. They ship it everywhere in the world. Barbados has a melting pot of religions. Most people are Christian, but you can also find Methodists, Protestants, Anglican, and many, many more. In Barbados, many people are religious, so there are a lot of churches. In fact, there are more churches than days in a year. A lot, huh? They wear pressed suits and colorful festive dresses. It is a very big deal for them. As well as some of us, they celebrate Easter and Christmas. Settlers from England brought Anglican to Barbados. Irish servants brought Catholicism. Many other religions were brought from other countries. Barbados has the oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere. A synagogue is where Jewish people go to worship and speak to their gods. Many people watch religious TV shows because there are many of them on TV. They also have fundraisers to raise money for children and hospitals and stuff like that. Barbados is a very, very religious country, and it has a big melting pot of cultures.